Griff Hamlin here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Welcome and thanks for joining me. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that I sort of stole from Eric Clapton in Cream from Born Under a Bad Sign, but it demonstrates a very particular thing, which I like to call the big bend. And this is something that I often discuss with my students that are working on classic rock or blues rock or even traditional blues soloing. This idea of what I call a big bend. And you see it time and time and time again, but it's easy to neglect. And you tend to get going playing eighth notes, playing triplets. You kind of keep doing the same thing, and if you leave out this occasional big bend or a note that is held out for a nice long time, that always kind of puts punctuation on things. It sort of pauses things, lets your listener absorb it. So let me show you a couple of licks and we'll see how this gets used. Now in this case, we are going to be in the key of G. Now I could play G down here. G minor, pentatonic, box 1. But in this case, it happens to be played up here. It's exactly the same, it's just an octave higher. So my first finger is on the 15th fret, so we say that is 15th position. If your first finger kind of naturally falls there, that's what we call it. So I've backed off my volume a little bit, and that's relevant because you'll notice I have a fair amount, if I turn my volume all the way up, you'll notice I have a fair amount of overdrive. If I take that 18th fret and I bend it up a whole step on the second string, you can hear that it'll ring out a little bit. It'll actually kind of keep ringing, and it has some sustain. If I back off on the volume down to, let's say, 4 or 5, it dies out pretty quickly. I don't have nearly the gain, and that's relevant only because I have this first lick where I'm asking that note to hold for 4 beats, basically, 3.5, okay? So I'm gonna bend up the 17th fret on the 3rd string, grab the 15th fret on the 2nd, sort of roll my first finger to the 15th fret on the 1st string, and then I like to use my 3rd finger to do this bend because the frets are closer together. You could use your 2nd, you could use your 4th, whatever works for you. But I'm gonna bend that 18th fret up. Now what's key, the note that I just played right before it is a G at the 15th fret of the 1st string. That means that 18, which is an F, needs to sound like a G when I'm done. They should sound the same. Okay, so the first thing is you gotta hit it. What you're gonna wanna try to do when you can hit it and hold it is maybe add a little bit of sugar. Now, that's gonna start slow. Right? Just a little bit of release and push back. Okay, we don't go above, we go below. And if as you start to kind of work that, it'll get easier. But you'll notice, I'm gonna give it some sugar when I get it up high. Don't try to do that until you're comfortable hitting the note and holding it squarely. Otherwise, it's putting the cart before the horse. So if I count this out, it's basically eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, you'll notice, is a rest of the next bar. And then I'm going to do that same move again, but it counts ever so slightly differently. It's 1 and 2 and. Okay, so this 15th fret on the 2nd string this time is kind of in between the 2 and the and. It's on the E. So if you want to count 1 E and a, 2 E and a, you can do that. You could go 1 E and a, 2 E and a, or you can just kind of let that note fall into that note, which is kind of how I approach it. So 1 and 2 and 3. Sorry. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off from the 18th to the 15th fret in count 3 on the second string. And again, you could use your pinky or your third finger. It's just going to kind of depend. The tiny high squeaky frets, it's a little harder sometimes to fit all your fingers in there. And we're going to bend that 17th fret up a half step. Really, we're just going to kind of push it because we're going to kill it almost right away. And then we're going to hit the 15th fret on the third string. Okay, and that's timing wise, again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're going to go and kind of do the 17th to 15th pull off right down to beat 1, which is the 17th fret on the 4th string. Okay, and again, timing wise, that's really, really important because it's like 3 and 4 and 1. Like it's super quick. Now, if that's really, really challenging for you, you could do 4 and 1. It's not going to sound exactly the same, but it would be more feasible. So that whole bar goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Okay? So that's the end of the first phrase. So let's count that whole phrase out and do it nice and slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, then we'll add in the second phrase. So I'm holding that 1 and 2 and 3 and. It lasts for about 3 beats. Obviously, you're gonna have to let go at some point, but give it a little sugar, right? You can notice I'm pulling on it to give it some vibrato. And then when you're done, let go, get yourself positioned. We're gonna do almost the same thing again. The 17th fret bend, instead of hitting the 15th fret though on the second string, we're going right to the first string. And then we're gonna hit that bend up. But there's a little tiny dot over that in the traditional notation. At the end of the bend, there's a little dot over top of it, meaning to cut that short. So we're gonna go right to pitch and then kill it right away. So it'll be 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And we're gonna bend that 18th fret on the first string up a full step. Then we're gonna release it. So 3, 4, and. So I'm gonna pull it off to the 15th fret on 4, go down to the 18th fret on the second string on the and, go back to the G at the 15th fret of the first string, and I'm gonna bend that 18th fret up again, making it quick. Okay, so what I kind of dig about this is we have one big bend here. We have first a short, quick bend, 2, 3, there's a nice big bend, and then 2 cut off bends. So if we were to put both of these together, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Right? Let's try that one more time all the way through. A little bit quicker. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3. Now that time, I gave that last one a little bit of sugar, even though it's supposed to be short. You could kind of play with that. Obviously, it's not, how you have to do that is not obviously written in stone. I didn't make it long, but I may not have made it quite as short as I probably should have. Either way, it's not meant to be this long note. There are other notes that are longer, even just that quarter note where we bend way up high. That gives us that breath. It's like, and then we get back into it. It's a really, really important thing. I don't hear this talked about often enough. You have to let things breathe, okay? We want to have the eighth notes, we want to have all the stuff, but again, we have to let things breathe sometimes, and we have to keep a variety in the rhythm. If all you play is just one, that gets old, right? As soon as right, then we can soon as just make a little bit of variety. It doesn't have to be fast, it just has to be different. Okay, so I kind of put a little bit of, I'll say, a jam track into my looper. All it is it's just a little G7 chord. So I just kind of grab that G chord, C, D, F. It is not the Born Under a Bad Sign riff. I know that. It's just something that sounds kind of similar. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Okay, so I just sort of put that in just as, again, a little bit of something to play over. So if I play both of these licks together over that riff, here's what it sounds like. 2, 3, 4. All right, and there you go. A couple of licks that are not too challenging by any stretch, go very well together. We'll give you some practice playing up on the high squeaky frets. We'll give you some of those nice big bends to work with. Remember, a little bit of extra drive does kind of go a long way with stuff like this. If you have a little bit more overdrive on the tone. I have the gain knob on my blues driver up, I'll say about 3 o'clock, 2:30 maybe. It's definitely more than I typically use. But in order to get that big full sound, I do also have my tone control backed off just a little bit, which is a common Eric Clapton kind of thing to do, particularly in that Cream era. So, and in fact, sometimes he would run it all the way off. He'd run the tone control all the way down. I don't like to go quite that far, but you get the idea. I want the notes to come out still nice and clean for the video. So there you go, a little bit of tone tip, if you will. As always, hope you dig the videos. If you have guitar playing friends that would enjoy this, I hope you'll share it with them. I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.